We all need encouragement from other Christians as we persevere in the Christian life. In Hebrews 12, a large part of the motivation for us to run the race with patience comes from the cloud of witnesses that have run the same race before us. In this series, Jason Dennis surveys the lives of 4 important missionaries of the past, highlighting their faith and calling us to act with the same courage in our generation. Join us for another episode in a series entitled Champions of Conviction.
Good morning, and welcome to Walk Talks. This is Jason Dennis, and as we finish our series this week looking at a few missionaries, today we will be looking at George Müller and his devotion to God through prayer and a steadfast faith. If there are 2 things that George Müller is known for, it is for his life of prayer and for his faith in God to answer his prayers. Müller started several orphanages for the orphans of England and relied upon God every step of the way. Throughout his lifetime, he cared for over 10,000 orphans and established more than 100 Christian schools. But through it all, he never went into debt. Additionally, he had chosen to never ask for money. He chose rather to live in complete faith and dependence upon God to meet his every need. There are many stories of how God rewarded his faith by answering his prayers. We will look at just a couple of them. The most common story of this was when he was seated with the kids from the orphanage for breakfast, but they had absolutely no food to eat. They sat down anyway and prayed and thanked the Lord for the food. As they finished praying, a baker knocked on the door and gave them sufficient bread for everyone. Also, a milkman who had broken down in front of their house gave them plenty of fresh milk. Another seemingly impossible story is one time when Müller was traveling across the ocean on a ship and a big fog came up. It was so bad that the captain said that they were going to slow the ship down so that they wouldn't run into anything. Müller had an appointment the following day and would have missed it if the fog stayed. So he prayed, and even though the captain doubted that anything would change, the fog disappeared almost immediately. There are so many more stories about how God answered Müller's prayers, and if you have time, I would encourage you to look them up and be encouraged about how God answers prayers. But God doesn't just answer Müller's prayers, He can answer your prayers too. The big thing here is that you have faith in God to answer your requests. Today's passage is a little longer, but it is important to read the whole section to gain the context here. Let's read Matthew chapter 21, verses 17 through 22. And he, meaning Jesus, left them, and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there. Now in the morning, as he returned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it, and found nothing thereon but leaves only, and said unto it, Let no fruit grow on thee henceforward, forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, How soon is the fig tree withered away? Jesus answered and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, if ye have faith, and doubt not, ye shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also, if ye shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things, whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. What we're really looking at here starts in verse 19 when it says that Jesus told the fig tree to grow no more fruit, and the fig tree withered. Now this is God speaking, and he can make anything happen. With creation, God spoke, and the world came into being. God's power is infinite, so it is no wonder that Jesus had power over a fig tree. But what we are really looking at is verses 21 and 22 where it says, Jesus answered and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, if ye have faith, and doubt not, ye shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also, if ye shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things, whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. Here, Jesus is telling us that if we have faith and don't doubt, we can move mountains. Now, I don't think he means literal mountains, but I could be wrong. What he is saying here is that if we have true, genuine faith that God will do what we ask, and if it is according to his will, he will do it. Verse 22 basically is repeating this message for emphasis, but it clarifies that faith is belief. If we want to see God do great things, we have to pray in full confidence that he will answer. Now, we need to make sure that we are praying according to God's will. To sum this up, George Müller was truly a man of prayer and faith. His prayers came to fruition. He prayed, and God already had a solution. God has a plan for your life. Are you trusting him with it, or are you trying to go your own way? Do you have faith that he will answer your prayer requests, or are you just praying because you have to, or just because you do? Why don't you put some faith into your prayer life and pray confidently that he can do the impossible? He can. You just have to trust him.
Thanks for being a part of Walk Talks today by listening and subscribing to our podcast. Follow us on social media for sneak peeks at future episodes and to share your favorites with others who would benefit as well. We hope your heart has been enriched by God's Word to take your next step in following Christ.